Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive. You know that familiar feeling, right? Facing something new, maybe complex, and thinking, ugh, this is going to be tough. Am I smart enough for this?
We're just bracing for hours of, grinding away.
Exactly. Well, get ready to maybe ditch some of that thinking. Today, we're looking at how learning doesn't have to be this huge struggle. The secret isn't really about more effort.
It's about smarter strategy. And here's the fascinating part. Learning might actually be closer to, well, play than tension.
That feels like a big promise. So many of us think learning is hard work.
It's a common belief, yeah. We think brute force, hours at a desk, that's the path. But what if a lot of effective learning involves knowing when to actually relax, to let your brain do its thing?
Let it do its thing. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and this isn't just a nice idea. It's really rooted in how our brains actually work. Neuroscience backs this up.
Okay, let's definitely unpack this then. Our mission today is to pull out some really practical, science-backed nuggets that can help you change how you approach learning anything new.
We're talking about building those mental blocks of knowledge more easily, getting past procrastination.
And maybe even finding some ease, some enjoyment in the process. We're diving into Barbara Oakley's fantastic work, Learning How to Learn.
From her course and book, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll see how it connects really neatly, actually, with Alex Radich's Caro's philosophy.
It all kind of circles back to this powerful idea from Barbara Oakley, doesn't it?
It really does. You don't have to be a genius to learn something complex. You just have to know how to learn. That shifts everything.
It makes it a skill, not some fixed trait you either have or don't.
Exactly. It demystifies the whole process.
So let's get into that process because, like you said, it challenges our usual assumptions. We picture intense focus, right? Staring hard at the page.
That's the default image, yeah. But Oakley's insight is that while focus is vital, a huge part of learning effectively is about relaxing, giving your brain space. It works behind the scenes too.
Okay, that sounds a bit counterintuitive if you're used to cramming for exams.
Oh, absolutely. But the science supports it. Oakley talks about two key brain modes, focused and diffuse. Understanding these is like, well, getting the user manual for your brain.
Focused and diffuse modes. Okay, tell us about the focused one first. That sounds more familiar.
It probably is. Focus mode is that direct, intentional concentration. You're actively working on something specific, solving a math problem, analyzing a sentence, following instructions.
Like a spotlight.
Yeah, a tight spotlight. You're zeroing in, building connections consciously, strengthening those neural pathways. It's very deliberate.
Okay, makes sense. So what about the diffuse mode? That sounds different.
It is. Diffuse mode is when your attention is relaxed, more spread out. Think about when you go for a walk, take a shower, maybe just daydream a bit.
You're not actively trying to solve the problem then.
Exactly. Your conscious mind has stepped back, but your brain is still working. It's making broader connections, linking ideas from different areas, stuff that might not seem related when you're hyper-focused.
Ah, so that's why ideas sometimes just pop into your head when you're doing something else entirely.
Precisely. It's your diffuse mode network making those unexpected links. It's like switching from that spotlight to a wide-angle lens.
So the real skill isn't just being good at focusing.
No, it's about skillfully switching between the two. Like knowing when to sprint and when to jog or rest. Constant focus just burns you out.
Okay, so you focus intently for a bit, then you deliberately relax and let the diffuse mode take over.
That's the core idea. You toggle between them, engage deeply, then step back and let your brain consolidate and connect in the background. It's an active rhythm.
And this leads us nicely into another key concept from Oakley, chunking. I like her Lego block analogy for this.
It's a great analogy, yeah. A chunk is basically a piece of information or a skill or a concept that you've practiced so much it becomes a single, unified unit in your mind.
So it's like you don't have to think about all the tiny parts anymore.
Exactly. It becomes automatic. You access the whole chunk easily, without conscious effort. Instead of seeing a huge, scary topic, you see these manageable blocks you can work with.
Can you give an example? Like, how does something become a chunk?
Well, think about learning basic math.
Yeah.
2 + 2 = 4 was once something you had to figure out, right? You used focused effort.
Yeah, I remember counting on my fingers.
Right. But now, it's instant, chunk. Or tying your shoes. Or maybe for a programmer, it's a common loop structure they write without thinking. For a musician, a specific chord change.
Ah, okay. So repeated practice turns effortful steps into one smooth, automatic unit.
Yes. It moves from your conscious, focused effort into your more intuitive, automatic mental library. And that frees up your focused attention for the next challenge, the bigger picture.
So learning complex things is really about building up a library of these chunks.
That's a huge part of it. You build the foundation block by block. And what's really cool is Barbara Oakley's own story. It shows this in action.
Right. She wasn't always into science and math, was she?
Not at all. She actually said she felt not capable of exact sciences. She studied languages, Russian in the U.S. Army. Completely different path.
Wow. So how does she end up an engineering professor?
That's the amazing part. She decided later on to tackle engineering, something she thought was totally outside her abilities. And she didn't just find some hidden talent.
She applied these learning principles to herself.
Exactly. She deliberately learned how to learn effectively using these ideas of focus and diffuse modes, chunking, practice. She essentially rewired her own approach.
And became not just an engineer, but a professor, and created this huge learning how to learn course.
Yeah, reaching millions. Her journey is like the ultimate case study for her core message.
Which is?
You are not stupid. You just don't know how the brain works during learning. It's incredibly empowering.
It really is. It shifts blame or perceived limitation away from you and onto the strategy.
Absolutely. It becomes, am I using the right technique? Not, am I smart enough? And anyone can change their technique.
Okay, so we get the theory, focus, diffuse modes, chunking. How do we actually do this? What's the practical playbook look like?
Oakley lays out a pretty clear protocol. It starts with what she calls focused immersion.
Right, that's the Pomodoro-like technique, like 25 minutes of intense focus.
Pretty much, yeah. A short, dedicated burst, maybe 25 minutes, where you really dive into the material, no distractions, just active engagement. You're starting to build those first connections.
And then comes the crucial part, a lot of us skip.
The break, yes. It's 5 or 10 minutes. But it's key to step away completely. Get up, walk around, stretch, just let your mind wander.
That's when the diffuse mode kicks in.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
You allow that focused information to start settling, connecting, consolidating in the background, like letting cement set.
Okay, focus, then a real break. What's next?
Then you synthesize. Briefly capture the main idea you just learned. Maybe write one sentence on a flashcard or in your notes. It forces you to recall and boil it down. Did I really get the core of that chunk?
Makes sense. Ensures you actually understood it.
And finally, for making it stick long-term, spaced repetition.
Coming back to it later.
Yes. Review that chunk the next day, then maybe a few days later, then a week. Use it in a slightly different way if you can. Solving a related problem, perhaps.
Why is spacing it out so much better than just reviewing it lots of times in one go? You mentioned the interval effect.
Right, the interval or spacing effect. It's basically the finding that we learn and remember things much better when we spread our study sessions out over time.
Like building muscle at the gym, you need rest days.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
Cramming is like trying to do a week's worth of workouts in one day. It doesn't work well. Your brain needs that downtime between sessions to consolidate the memories. Each time you recall it after a gap, you strengthen the pathway.
So it makes the memory more durable.
Much more durable and easier to access later. It's the total opposite of cramming, where you often forget almost everything soon after.
Okay, this sounds really doable. How can someone listening right now try this? Oakley has that chunk builder practice, right?
She does, and it's super practical. First, pick one tricky idea you want to get your head around this week. Could be anything work concept, part of a hobby.
Okay, got one in mind.
Now, try to break it down into maybe 3 or 4 smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Your mini chunks.
Right, digestible bits.
Then, for each of those mini chunks, try to explain it in one simple sentence. Plain language. If you can't explain it simply.
You probably don't understand it well enough yet. Okay.
Exactly. And then later today, maybe a couple hours from now, or this evening, try to recall those simple sentences from memory.
Ah, bringing in the spacing effect straight away.
You got it. Reinforce those chunks. Do it again tomorrow. You'll likely be surprised how much better it sticks.
It makes learning feel less like this huge, daunting task and more like, well, assembling something piece by piece.
It does. And to help you, the listener, think about your own habits, Oakley has some great self-reflection questions. We should probably ask them now.
Good idea. Okay, thinking about yourself now. When was the last time you tried to learn something difficult? How did you actually do it? How did it go?
And be honest. Do you tend to cram things, trying to force it all in at once, maybe right before you need it? Or do you naturally allow your brain to work in stages with breaks?
Think about after you focused on something. Do you genuinely let your attention rest? Or do you just jump straight to the next task or scroll on your phone, staying mentally on?
Do you use repetition, Spaced practice. Do you ever try to explain what you're learning to someone else to check your understanding? That's a great test.
And maybe the biggest one. Based on all this, what's just one small thing you could do today to learn a bit smarter, not just harder?
Just one small change can make a difference.
Those are really good prompts. Okay, so we've got Oakley's powerful strategies. Now let's widen the view. How does this connect to Alex Radish's Kairos philosophy? That's more of a whole life system, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Kairos is a broader personal development program. It draws heavily on Stoicism, but also integrates insights from modern teachers. The goal is really cultivating awareness, wisdom, discipline across different areas of life.
Overcoming obstacles. I heard there's even an AI component.
Yeah, there's often an AI chatbot involved for daily interaction, guidance, keeping things on track. It's designed to be quite comprehensive.
So what are the main areas Kairos covers?
It's structured around 7 domains, usually cycling through the week. There's creativity, affluence, so financial well-being, intelligence, which is where Oakley stuff fits perfectly.
Right, honing the mind.
Then relationships, organism, meaning physical and mental health, and spirituality. And the 7th day is often dedicated specifically to Stoic principles.
Wow, okay, that's genuinely holistic, a structure for growth across the board.
Exactly. It aims for integrated development, not just excelling in one silo.
So let's make the connection explicit. How do Oakley's learning methods, like focus diffuse modes and chunking, actually integrate into a big system like Kairos?
Well, the source material point out some direct links. Firstly, understanding how you learn, like Oakley teaches, directly fuels what Kairos calls radical clarity.
Knowing your own mental processes.
Precisely. Gaining clarity on how your own mind works when learning or solving problems. That's foundational.
Makes sense. What else?
Oakley's learning protocol, that rhythm of focus, break, synthesize, repeat, is a perfect example of self-structure in Kairos.
Ah, building disciplined habits.
Yes. It provides a clear, intentional structure for managing your energy and attention, which is crucial for any kind of sustained growth. You're building a positive rhythm.
And Oakley's own story, overcoming her initial belief about not being good at science, seems relevant too.
Definitely. That really speaks to psychological maturity in the Kairos framework. Moving from, I can't do this, to, okay, how can I learn this differently?
Adapting your approach instead of giving up.
That's it. It shows resilience, self-awareness, the ability to overcome internal blocks, all core to psychological maturity as Kairos sees it.
And the whole focus-pause dynamic. The importance of the break, the diffuse mode.
That aligns perfectly with presence in process. Being fully engaged in the focused work and being fully present in the rest period, allowing integration to happen. It's about the quality of attention in both phases.
So it's not just about the hours logged, but how mindfully you engage with both the work and the rest.
Exactly. Deep absorption requires both.
You know, pulling this all together, there's that quote from Oakley again. Learning is not tension, but a form of play. And the brain loves to play if you don't push.
That quote really captures the shift, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
When you work with your brain's natural modes, when you build things chunk by chunk, learning can feel less like a chore and more like, well, figuring out a puzzle. It can be enjoyable.
Which fits perfectly into a holistic view like Kairos, where ideally growth across all areas shouldn't feel like a constant battle, but something you engage with willingly, maybe even playfully.
Yeah, it leads to a much more sustainable and frankly fulfilling way to learn and grow.
So wrapping this up for everyone listening, the big takeaway here is that learning effectively, it's a skill. It's not just about being smart or forcing yourself.
It's about understanding your brain's rhythms that dance between the focused spotlight and the diffuse wide-angle lens. And it's about building your knowledge block by block with those manageable chunks.
And these strategies aren't just for school. They're fundamental tools for life, fitting beautifully into a broader framework for growth like Kairos, emphasizing awareness, structure, and presence.
It's about working smarter with your mind, not just harder.
So here's a final thought for you to ponder. If learning truly can be a form of play, how could you reframe your own learning? Whatever you're trying to master, a work skill, a hobby, anything.
How could you structure it to feel more like playful exploration, less like a heavy obligation? What's one small chunk you could start playing with today? Maybe using that focus break synthesize rhythm.
Just shifting the mindset might make a surprising difference.
It really might. Remember, even just committing to that 5-minute break after 25 minutes of focus could be your first step. Start small, learn smart.
We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable tools and maybe a fresh perspective on your own learning journey. Until next time, keep exploring.
And keep playing.